Juilliard now has dorms, but they didn't have them then, and we all had to find homes to live in. The lady was a school teacher. She had a son who was going to high school. You know, it was a big apartment with an extra bedroom that they rented out, and that's where I stayed until my sister decided to come up, and then we got an apartment together. And because she was interested, you see, in theater. She wanted to be an opera singer, but she gave that up because she had a very high standard and she felt her voice wasn't really that great. And she was right. And that's what she was doing when we were living together. Trying to get into shows, that's a toughie too. And then she got married twice. And that ended her attempts at career. But she was very, and still is, very much the actress. I mean, that's her personality. First thing we did was adopt a cat. Treacle. He clung. Little black cat. Family's away somewhere, I guess. My cats. I've had cats ever since. The Cat and the Fiddle. Yeah. But the very interesting thing is I've never been able to train a cat to play the fiddle.
Yeah, that's
I guess I'm not a very good teacher. It seemed natural to me that my mother had been a school teacher, her sisters were school teachers, my father taught medicine. Teaching seemed to be one of the things you did, you know, and it just sort of happened then. I didn't plan it necessarily. It started a little bit with Persinger sending me some people sometimes to work with a little bit to help with their practicing and, you know, stuff like that. I lived in the same building, actually, as the Persingers. He would ask me to practice with so-and-so and, you know, help them because they weren't doing so well, and maybe I could help them a little bit. Evidently, he sensed that I had a potential in that direction. It just sort of happened. And just slipped into it. But I like teaching.
Yes.
You shouldn't do it unless you like it. That much I can tell you. I've known so many teachers who did it just to make the money and who were not that good. But if you like it, why? It's fun. Teaching implies, I don't know whether people think about it this way, interpersonal relationships, very much. And the person who goes into it because they like that makes a better teacher usually than the person who does it who, well, it's one way I can make a little more money and didn't really particularly like it. That's the difference. I had this, what we call a sonata team. I had teamed up with this woman. We seemed to get along very well, and our playing seemed to get along very well, and we managed to get management. And so that's what I was doing. I was going out with the sonata team. And the sonata literature, of course, it's really chamber music. It's not as much solo, obviously. I got a few chances to play with orchestra. I even played a few outdoor concerts and summer concerts. Oh boy, those were experiences sometimes, trying to be sure the fly wasn't getting into place. Or the bees, if it was afternoon and things were flying around, and oh boy, those were interesting concerts. They were fun. But, I was doing a little bit of everything. And then I got myself a job. A job that had in it, what shall I say, a kind of sense of wanting to do something for people in the world. I went down and got a job at the Henry Street Settlement Music School. And the music school in the Henry Street settlement was excellent. It was run by a demon of a lady called Grace Spofford. She was one of these. And it was really a marvelous idea to get the job and work under her, because she took young teachers to let them get started, and also they would be cheap. Didn't have to be paid much. Very little money. And that's where I really learned to teach, because you got everything. Even adults, I mean, who were older than you, that was a little disturbing sometimes, but still. But who were beginners, you know. Took, boy, they had a group of 10-year-old boys who were, as they considered, delinquents. And I even had some times when I would take one boy by the nape of the neck and the other and pull them apart when they've been fighting. It's very interesting teaching kids like this. The Lower East Side in those days, it was very European still, as you well know. And they were anxious for their children to have music. This was a big thing with, the Germans and the French and so forth and so on, because they had, in their country, Russians, a lot of Russians in the Lower East Side in those days. So we were getting all languages, of course, but the language of music put them together. Lower East Side was not where they thought young ladies should be moving around by themselves at night. I never had a problem, frankly, and it never worried me, but they used to worry about going into, I don't know, bad areas. The settlement movement is an amazing movement, and the music school settlements did take on people like me. I mean, young students in a way who showed an interest in teaching. And that was my first job. Because I always had this also secondary thing, you should do something for society. I guess it's my upbringing. You don't just do what you want to do, you want to do something that helps the world. Music's very important to the world. They don't know it all the time. When I first started teaching, I spent hours in the music stores looking over material to make up a decision of what I wanted to use for teaching the material. And to begin to prepare myself to be a decent teacher. The Suzuki thing got to me. That was really, a lot of people say Suzuki changed my life. In a way, I think he did mine. Because when he came with his first tour group, he blew us all away. Dr. Suzuki came to Juilliard. He brought students with him and gave a demonstration of what he did with them. They played so musically and so well. That was the combination. I mean, beautiful intonation, beautiful technique, but musical. And that was the main thing. There were things going on here that were, let's say, just as good in some ways, but not somehow with this core of, which to me was the most important thing, music making, involving in the music. I thought I was doing pretty well teaching children, but I knew I wasn't doing as well as he was. And I have this peculiar thing, if someone does something better than I want to find out how they do it. And that's what took me off to Matsumoto. I was under management, was doing concerts, and I had a Far Eastern tour, which I did with David Garvey, and we went off quite a lot of different places. And I asked him to book me 2 free weeks to go up to Matsumoto to find out what Mr. Suzuki actually was doing in his homeland, in the Japan Alps. It's like Switzerland.